you're talking about combat ineffective. My Army experience, I went from thoroughly enjoying my unit and being ready to re-enlist to they had people that took over the within about a 6 month period. There was a total change of leadership in our battalion.
Mhm.
A lot of lessons learned when you see a change of leadership.
Right.
One of the big lessons is there's a difference between a manager and a leader. And we went from having leaders and people that were very combat effective and mission effective to people that wanted to micromanage you.
Yeah.
And they had the idea that the soldier's not doing anything, the taxpayer money's being wasted. So you got to be doing this and got to be. So we went from a unit that had in our little engineer world, we had a good name and we had a reputation of somebody that went in, got the work done, got it done above standard, and disappeared. And that's what we did. And all of a sudden, no, you need to be doing this, and you need to be doing this, and you need to be doing this, to the point where we got combat ineffective. And finally, what happened? We went out on a field problem, like you're talking about, and this captain that had been a first lieutenant, and she come in, she had wrote the task op. She wanted to make sure we did every little bit by the task op that she was so proud that she wrote as a first lieutenant. And you talk about just bogging down everything to the
Mhm.
point we went and just pulled up and went back like this field problem is a wash. That takes some doing.
Oh yeah.
This field
Yeah.
problem is a wash. We're going back out in 2 weeks. So we did some training, but while they were doing the training, some of the NCOs had a word.
Mhm. Yeah.
I go, ma'am, with all due respect, the right NCOs, because one of the other lessons was probably one of the best platoon sergeants I'd ever seen was one of the weakest first sergeants I'd ever seen.
Well, you'll
Sometimes
have
you can
that.
promote above your ability.
Yeah.
I'm very conscious of that in my job now.
Yeah.
The NCOs took her aside and, ma'am, your job as a captain is to do this. Let us do our jobs. However, that was said, however, I know it was a lot more tactically said than that. But we went out, and the next thing you know, boom, right back on to being what we were good at
Mhm.
because we weren't overburdened with a whole bunch of unnecessary things to focus on.
Right. If you can see through all that, if you can see through all that smoke, all that smoke and mirror stuff, and once again, knowing the mission helps you to do that, and focus on what's pertinent to mission, and you can cut a lot of that stuff out.
Yeah.
I had a lieutenant when I was in the 101st, and he was a squared away lieutenant, second lieutenant, fresh out of Ranger School when we got him. We were his first platoon, so he'd never led anybody before other than his West Point class and whatnot. But everything that he wanted to do was was just over the top, and everything started with in Ranger School. In Ranger School, we did this in Ranger School. We did it like this in Ranger School. But everything that he was expecting us to do, whether we were doing an ambush or we're doing a reactive contact or we're doing search and destroy, any type of mission, he wanted to do just all this stuff, but so many moving parts in it, stuff that just we didn't need to do. Uh, but you could do it when you were in Ranger School and you've got 40 people in a platoon. But now realistically, now you're in a real platoon and you don't have near that many. Uh,
Couldn't
so
streamline it.
yeah, you got to start cutting down. And so squad leaders had come to the point where you know what, ain't nobody gonna know we're struggling unless we just start doing what he's telling us to do. Because what we were doing, we just say, "Roger that, sir," and then we would just make stuff happen. That was just the easiest way to do it. But it got to the point where what was happening is our jobs were becoming increasingly harder because we were having to listen to this guy, do it his way in front of him,
Mm.
and then do it our way behind his back. and most of that stuff behind his back was correcting what we'd just done. So we got to a point where squad leader said, you know what, we're just going to do it exactly the way he says it. And when it falls flat and we get into the AAR, we're going to make it known that, well, according to the PL's op order, according to the PL's op order, according to the PL's instructions, the platoon leader's instructions, that's what we did. And finally, the company commander came to us, said, let me get the squad leaders over here for a second. And I'll never forget his name, Captain Jennings, squared away, football player there at West Point. He took his hat off. He goes, hey, guys, what's going on? He's like, what do you mean, sir? He goes, what's going on? And we laid it out in front of him. He said, well, this is what's going on with Lieutenant so-and-so. So, he's a good guy, but we're trying to help him this and do that and show him and yada, yada, yada. He says, God, I'll take care of that. And he did. He did exactly what he told us he'd do. He took care of it, squared that little platoon leader away, and that platoon leader started listening to our input, and our missions became a lot more successful. But the issue there was his ego and his desperation to be right on everything. He was turning his back on decades of experience.
Ooh.
When us 4 squad leaders had an average of probably 7 to 10 years in a piece, and then the platoon sergeant on top of that, and he was turning his back on all that experience and relying on his, Ranger school. That's all they had, because he's a second lieutenant. He ain't got nothing. Second lieutenants don't have shit. But I was more impressed by our company commander, who recognized what was happening and was able to pull us squad leaders aside and listen to what we were saying. He did it very tactfully, without outing out that lieutenant, because that's not what an officer's going to do. That's not what an officer should do. And without stepping on our toes either, without causing that lieutenant to bring retribution upon us either.
Yeah. So it sounded like he didn't really step on his toes, but he had
No.
a heart to talk. Had a heart to heart.
He had a heart to heart talk with him, probably at one of their officer development functions where they go to the O Club and do whatever they do. I see stuff like that needs to happen inside the church.
Man.
And it's no different with NCO development too, where you'd see first sergeants bring young NCOs aside and give them a little guidance. I see a bunch of need for that inside the church. Well, we talk about it all the time. It's mentoring is what it is. The ability to pull someone aside and basically get them to see their shortfalls without letting them know that you're getting them to see their shortfalls.
Yeah.
That takes some skill. It takes some maturity and wisdom.